So in my last week's video, I introduced a fly fishing technique that has surprised a lot of viewers. I got a lot of comments from viewers asking how they should set up their rig to fly fish that technique, and why is it so effective, and why has it not been introduced as much as should be in the fly fishing realm. And the surprising thing is that most of the internet, or even on YouTube, there's practically no information on this technique. And today, hopefully we could break through some of the secrets and get ourselves onto more fish with this deadly technique called upstream nymphing. Alright, let's get into it. Welcome back everybody, my name is Carson. If you don't know me, I've been fly fishing for the past 10 plus years, including competitive fly fishing. So out of these years that I've been fly fishing, this technique has only been brought up to me a couple of years ago. Now the problem is that there are many techniques like it, like for example the curly cue and floating your cider when you're using a Euro Nymphing setup. Now there's downsides to both, and the one thing about the Euro Nymphing rig is that you can't cast as far, and the other thing about the curly cue is that you can only nymph with it, and that's pretty much it. But there is a technique out there that can crush Euro Nymphing easy. That can crush the curly cue technique, leader system, easy. And that's upstream nymphing. And the most important thing that we need to know is that old techniques just all of a sudden just don't work as well. Right now the hot topic in the fly fishing world these days is Euro nymphing and using a micro leader. It is an absolutely deadly technique. But the thing is when you're fly fishing, you have to be adaptive. You don't want to just stick with one technique for the whole entire time you're going out fly fishing. The stream tells you exactly what technique to use, when to use it, and when to switch techniques. So for example, if I'm Euro nymphing, I'm probably going to be using it in either fast water, either in riffles, deep runs, things like that. But as a competitive fly fisherman, you have to be adaptive to whatever conditions that you are presented. So for example, if I get a beat that is completely just flat water, there's no current, there's no riffles, nothing, then what do? So when I see these conditions presented to other anglers, either if I'm controlling some anglers or things like that, or watch people from the bank, I see them do one of two things. One, they stick with the Euro nymphing, and they either use a tight line nymphing technique, or they use floating the cider. And I see others, sometimes they switch out rods between a single rod that is just dedicated to dry fly fishing. Either people that are just using all sorts of different Euro techniques, from dry droppers, floating the cider, and just single nymphs, things like that. So besides this point, what I'm trying to get to is that we need to be adaptive, but as quick as possible. And that's when upstream nymphing comes in. So upstream nymphing, in my opinion, is a dedicated technique used for when you have really flat, elongated water. So right now it's late August and the temperature is pretty high, and I guarantee you out there on the streams you're probably going to run into a lot of situations where it's just completely flat water. The fish are super sensitive and you can't really get too close to them, so there's only a couple things to decide. Either you use a long distance dry dropper system, use a dry fly system, a single nymph with a floating the cider, or you can use upstream nymphing. Basically, upstream nymphing just takes this whole idea of all those things, dry dropper, nymph fishing, dry fly fishing. It takes it all and then just put it into one technique. So if you want to see this upstream action in place, please click this top link video here, and that will take you to a video that I posted last week of me actually explaining the system, which I'll do in this video also, but more in detail, but also you get some fishing action in that video also. Alright, so let's get back to it. So using an upstream technique, you'll be able to use a dry fly, you'll be able to use nymphs or even multiple nymphs, or even if you wanted to use a dry dropper system. Usually when I set up this rig, I have a 10-foot rod. Doesn't matter if it's a Euro rod, it doesn't matter to me, and it's a 3-weight. 3-weight is probably that best option for me for sensitivity, but also fighting fish in case if you catch a big one too. So besides the rod, which is probably the most insignificant part of the technique, what we should really be focusing on is the line. So the fly line should be weighted forward fly line, and it should be slowly tapered. Pretty much if you search up just a overall dry fly fishing fly line, most of the time it's pretty good for these type of techniques. So from there, when you put your fly line through the guides, everything else like that, at the end of your fly line, this is where the important part comes into play. At the end of your fly line, you could do a bunch of things, and you could go use your imagination. You can use any type of material. Only thing that we're trying to do now is to create an indicator. So basically this fly line is going to land on top of the water, and it's going to indicate when a fish takes your fly. So basically it's floating your cider. But how do we set up this indicator? Basically, if I could find some old orange fly line, it doesn't really matter, and I splice it with actually the original fly line, which doesn't really matter to me what color that is, at the end you should have a colored line. You could Sharpie it, you could paint it. You can actually add even material to the end of it just so you can see your fly line as best as possible. And then from there, from your fly line, from that indicator, you should add a micro loop to the end of the indicator where you're going to attach your leader. So right then and there, basically it's a really simple setup. And I'm surprised the internet has not showed us this technique as much as it should be in the fly fishing realm. But with that, just with that itself, even not talking about the leader yet, we are able to cast further distances, have longer drifts, have more ease on our drift time. Basically, we're not worn out. Maybe if we're Euro nymphing and extending our arm, it could be right down here, and only thing that we're looking for is any type of hesitation with the indicator. So at the end of your indicator, you should have a micro loop, and then attach 20 pound, and I like to have like about 2 feet of 20 pound. And then you can add a tippet ring to the end of your leader, or you could just make a micro loop. Is that you're going to be able to use a dry fly, dry dropper, single nymph, double nymph, or even more nymphs, or a triple nymph if you would like, depending on which conditions that you have. But also too, you can add split shot, all these other things, and it's so adaptive, and I just can't believe that nobody has been talking about this as much as it should be. Now leave down in the comments below what you think so far of this video. If you want me to make more videos like this and let out some more secrets, what I find on the internet about the fly fishing world that has not been talking yet on YouTube, please leave it down in the comments below. But besides that, this technique has been around for so long, and I'm going to list all the videos down below on all the things that I've researched, the videos that I've gone over, and there's only a few. So besides the setup itself now, let's talk about how are we going to fish this technique. So basically, I'll stand in the water, and I'm not casting right across the stream, I'm actually casting a little bit up at an angle up the stream. Now we want to make sure that when we cast upstream, is that our line is not all tangled up or bunched up. We like to have an elongated, straight, linear line. Now basically, it's like dry fly fishing, but at the same time, we're pretty much just casting out, lobbing the fly out there in the current or where the fish are feeding, either if it's a pile of fish or sight fishing fish, or you can see the fish, or even if you see rising fish, nymphs can work there also. So when we cast out, the first thing that we need to do is to pay attention to the indicator. If it darts under, set the hook. If it curves, set the hook. If you see anything at all, just set the hook. Hook sets are free. But besides that, now let's get into what else can we use this technique with. You can use a dry fly, you can use a dry dropper system, but actually, I want to talk about this real quick. Not a lot of people have been talking about wet fly fishing for a very long time. And in the competitive world, you rarely hear anything besides dry droppers, Euro nymphing, and floating your cider. Wet fly fishing with spiders especially are really effective technique, but during certain times of the year. So right now, coming to the end of summer, maybe into fall, maybe I'll still use those spider techniques, using wet fly techniques, which I might do a video later on down the road, but they are super effective. Do not forget to use it. Just do a simple swing technique. You can search it up on YouTube. I'm pretty sure that there's plenty of videos out there for wet fly fishing techniques, but that's also a technique that I wanted to mention with this technique that you can use. And also with upstream nymphing, it is super simple just to adapt to which one you want. So for example, if I'm nymphing and this fish starts to rise upstream, clip off the nymph, go straight to a dry fly, and then maybe I'll wax the leader a little bit more, and I cast out, and hopefully I catch a fish on that dry fly. Alright you guys, this was a lot of info in this video, and hopefully I have covered a bit more of what upstream nymphing is in this video, more detailed than my other video. In my other video, I showed you the exact setup. You can go check that out with this link up here. But also too, if you want more information on this technique, please send me an email. I have my email down below in the description or in the comment section, and I can send you a free PDF on this technique and how to set it up yourself. Alright, thank you everybody for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this quick video, and I hope to catch you in the next video. Please, if you have any questions at all, please leave it down in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Alright, thank you everybody for watching. Till then, I see everybody next time, and as always, stay fishy.